Maybe if I tell you that I love you, if I tell you that I love you, maybe if I wish that you were mine, if I wish that you were mine, maybe then you'd see the way I see you. If I would just say it 1,000 times, for you, love, I'm keeping my heart on a shelf. I think that you wish I was somebody else. I can't say I blame you for feeling this way. I'm all in my head. These are the games that we play. Baby, if I was completely different, if I was different, if I changed, would you then take me in? Maybe if I climbed the tallest mountain, if I climbed the tallest mountain, you would finally notice where I'd been. For you, love, I'm keeping my heart on a shelf. I think that you wish I was somebody else. I can't say I blame you for feeling this way. I'm all in my head. These are the games that we play. Whoa.
This year, I went for a lot, and any other year I would have pushed it all down, deep inside my mind, categorized it as a bad year. You know, one of those years never to return to, a year that would leave me with wanting to improve and better myself vigorously as January came into town. Yet, strangely enough, as the last few months came to a close, I found myself reaching more and more for my journal, writing more than I have ever before in my life. It was bizarre, but each time I turned to a new page with new thoughts, I came to the slow realization of how much I've changed and grown this year, more so than ever before. I cannot recognize the person I was at the beginning of this year. I am completely different, and I don't think something as drastic as this has happened before in my life. To put it simply, the Sophie that started this year was insecure, she was lost, deeply fragile, kind of an understatement of all things, but I went through something I wouldn't wish on anyone before the pandemic had even reached where I lived. Because of it, I had no goals, no real desire to do anything with my life, because I didn't see the point of it all. The experience made me spiral, and for the first time in a while, I began to grow a lot of self-hate. I had a lot of questions going through my mind amidst it all as well, like, why couldn't I complete my list of things to do? Why was I doing so badly at university? Why wasn't I writing for myself anymore? And more deep ones, like, why didn't I have goals like I used to? Why am I becoming this person? Why did it seem that everyone else was beginning a new chapter of their life, yet I was stuck in between pages, unable to turn forwards or go backwards? I'm not sure if I even wanted to. It was a very strange feeling, something I had never experienced before, and I had no idea how to deal with it. But as the world came to slow down, and everyone else around me slowed down, so did I, or more like I forced myself to. In order to carry on being me, on living, I knew something had to change, or I wasn't sure if I'll ever be able to get better. During those first months of staying inside, I stopped focusing on how I wasn't reaching things like measurable goals and blaming myself for not doing enough work, and just started to focus on living, healing, actually appreciating myself, focusing more on how I can make myself feel better rather than desperately trying to better myself. And in that space, as cliche as it sounds, something shifted. I began to love the simple acts of me breathing in and out, the way I felt after a run, the way in the mornings everything is silent but my thoughts and the birds. I started to actually soak in time and do things I enjoyed, rather than forcing myself to feel a certain way about the things I was doing. I began to properly think about what makes me happy, what drains my energy, and realizing that I'm sad and it's okay, that it's normal to feel anger, pain and sadness, and that's what makes the other emotions, the better emotions if you like, more stronger. I really started to think about how I can heal myself, and how growing, healing, recovering, reflecting, glowing up, you name it, is all that life really is, and there isn't an end goal, a point you have to check off. Rather, it's every single moment you are living and going through. I think that's what brings me to the beauty of the new year. Not the idea of becoming someone better, or becoming someone new, or having new goals to change your past self, but rather we get this chance to truly pause and reflect on what we achieved on the last 12 months. In the new year, I feel like there is so much focus on being someone new, someone better, someone who has goals, someone who wants to move on from a part of their life. We tend to forget that our past selves, actions and thoughts are just as important and should be carried through in order to complete that journey. Which is why this year my resolutions are a bit different. I'm using what I learned unknowingly in 2020 to help my new year self, bringing things I have never considered important until I reflected on how much they make me feel good and alive. There are only 3 simple goals, but they mean a lot. The first being focusing on my personal growth. Again, that's kind of cliche, but I want to ensure that I'm always taking the best care of myself and truly thinking about my behaviour and what sort of person I want to grow into. So it means this year I'm going to be doing more journaling, trying out new self-care habits, taking care of my inner child, and reminding myself constantly, I am alive, I am well, and I have a whole life of memories to be made in front of me. The second is to create and nurture my relationships. To be honest, in 2020, I count myself very lucky when I think about relationships. Most of my family have lived in New Zealand and I live in the UK, and I haven't seen them for 14 years. Many of my friends are spread across the globe, hours away. So I've always had the experience of connecting virtually, of having to put that extra effort in that comes with long distance friends and family. However, 2020 did teach me something about relationships, and that was the value of them, and realising how much the people in my life did or do for me, even when I don't realise it. Is why in the new year I want to put a better focus on all the important people in my life, giving back to what they gave me during my lowest months. Which brings me to my final one. It's a broad one. It's kind of a cheat goal seeing as it encompasses so much. And again, it's a bit cliche, but I suppose you can't escape the cliches when talking about resolutions. And that's giving. I want to spend the new year giving back to communities I'm passionate about, giving myself and other people time, giving the environment and earth the care and things it needs, giving myself a break, knowing I don't have to work that much. This goal is more about the sort of person I want to become and how I can actually begin to reflect it in my everyday life. I hope wherever you are, whatever you went through this year, that when watching this video you realise how much you can reflect on from the past year and how much you can bring all the lessons you have learned, not only into the new year, but also throughout your life. I also hope that the new year brings you a chance to realise, hey, you did it. You just survived one of the hardest 12 months we all went through, and you made it onto the other side, which is amazing in itself when you think about it. We still have a very long way to go with this pandemic, but I hope we can keep learning from ourselves and taking better care of ourselves and each other, because ultimately that is the most important part of life.